Greetings and salutations, travelers of the internet, and welcome to the Lit Round Table. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Anna. Today we'll be your wise or not so wise mentors for today's audio adventure into all things storytelling.
Welcome to episode 8.
Hello, hello.
We're approaching 10.
We are, which is super exciting.
Already on 8.
It's been a lot of fun.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, look at us doing our thing.
So welcome back, everyone. Today we have a fun topic, which Anna's going to lead us on.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about fantasy tropes that we hate.
Or just strongly dislike.
Yeah, that's really the more accurate.
Or
but
just...
I think the clickbaity title that I will probably go with is hate.
Yeah, hate. We hate them.
But you'll see once we get into it that they're not really strong hate.
They're just tropes that don't really do it for us.
Yeah.
They don't hook us into a story. It's just like, oh.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that? That's dumb.
Yeah. But before we get into that, we have a couple of other things we need to cover.
Mm-hmm.
So, and actually, I have a couple housekeeping things that I hadn't even told you about. First of all, I was looking at our analytics, and we have a listener in Belgium.
Belgium.
Yes.
We love you, Belgium.
We do, very much. And other places as well, but I thought Belgium deserves some, extra shout-outs, because I thought that was very cool.
That is very cool. We're glad you're listening or watching, and that you're enjoying along with us. That's pretty cool.
Yes. And the other thing is that a while back, we had gotten a comment on one of the videos when we were talking about second person, asking for some examples of what second person literature would look like. Oh, right. And as you know, I've been reading The Chronicles of Narnia as part of a book club with some middle schoolers. And I noticed in The Horse and His Boy a couple weeks ago that C.S. Lewis kind of uses some second person techniques in the writing because the narrator is present.
Interesting.
But he's not part of the story. So, he talks directly to the reader. So, I'll give you an example. So this is from The Horse and His Boy, but I noticed it in Prince Caspian, yesterday too. Okay, so here's an example. This is from The Horse and His Boy, page 186, the fight at Anvard. Mm-hmm. Okay. But it is no use trying to describe the battle from Shasta's point of view. He understood too little of the fight in general, and even of his own part in it. The best way I can tell you what really happened is to take you some miles away to where the hermit of the Southern March sat gazing into the smooth pool beneath the spreading tree, with Bree and Wynn and Erebus beside him.
So it's kind of like meta.
Yes.
It's like you're being told a story around a campfire.
Yes.
But I feel like I kind of attributed that to third person, though.
But it's using personal pronouns.
Yeah.
So it's not third person.
But it's also not first person because he's not talking about himself.
Right. He's talking to you. He uses the word you.
Yeah.
The best way I can tell you what really happened. So,
yeah.
I think that's probably going to be the closest second person that you'll experience in traditional literature. But again, if you have other suggestions and examples of what second person looks like, please engage with us on Twitter at the Lit Round or in our YouTube comment space. We're also on Facebook now, so
I feel like for a second person, I almost pictured it as like a choose your own adventure.
Yeah, that would work.
You walk down the hallway.
Yes.
You open the door.
Yes. There's just some second person narration happening in these books. And you don't even notice it all the time.
That's a cool example of how it could work in a story, though, that's not all second person.
Right.
That's interesting.
Right. Well, and Lewis also references like in the very first part of Prince Caspian. Here, you guys are just getting a tour of the Chronicles of Narnia today.
Yay.
So in chapter 1, the first sentence is of Prince Caspian. Once there were 4 children whose names were Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy, And it has been told in another book called The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe how they had a remarkable adventure.
Yeah, it's kind of a fourth wall break.
Yeah. That whole, first page is like that.
Weird.
Yeah. It's just an interesting way to tell a story.
Yeah.
It's a little atypical from what we're used to anyway. It's probably more common in certain genres than others.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It's interesting, though.
Yeah. So, thought I would respond to that question on the podcast.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Any other housekeeping items?
I guess I've been on kind of a book buying frenzy.
Oh.
Which this segues well into like what we're currently reading and what have you.
Sure.
But I got a very pretty copy of Mansfield Park by Jane Austen, which I'm very excited about.
Oh, cool.
Which if you're an audio-only listener, you will have missed my little discussion about how much I love Fanny Price in Mansfield Park, because that was a YouTube exclusive because we had to cut down the Villains podcast a smidge.
Yeah, it was too long and it wouldn't let us upload it for the audio only. So
yes.
The YouTube listeners got a little extra content that week.
Mm-hmm. But I think we'll revisit Fanny Price in Mansfield Park, I think, sometime for the audio listeners. But the point is that I got a very pretty copy of that book, which I'm excited about. And I also ended up getting a bunch of Star Wars Legend books so that I could get that free shipping from Barnes & Noble.
Nice.
So, my collection is growing.
I know we both just recently got The Light of the Jedi, that new Star Wars novel, which I'm excited to start. Haven't started yet, though. But same. I know we both got that at the same time.
Yep. And I also got the brand new book by Rena Rossner. I think I got it on release day, which I'm super excited.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's called The Light of the Midnight Stars. She's a Jewish author, and I read her The Sisters of the Winter Wood last year and just adored it. It was her first novel. So good. So I'm excited to read her second novel. But she's great. Great writer. She's also an agent, a literary agent. So she sells books too.
That's cool.
Yeah. But so that's been my book buying frenzy. I'm leaving some things out because I'm a little embarrassed to admit how many books I bought recently. But that's okay.
Yeah.
It's therapy.
Yeah, man. Everyone copes with, real life however they can.
Yeah.
Re-listen to the Escapism podcast if you want to learn more about that. Anyway.
Yes.
That's a good segue, though. What have you been reading?
Oh, you're going to make me go first. Okay. So, what I've been reading. I am on Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which is, for those of you who don't know, is the last book of the Harry Potter series. Mm-hmm. I'm almost done. I'm past the 75% mark. Which, there's still a lot of things that have to happen from what I'm remembering in the movie. And I'm like, wow, the falling action on this one's going to be... There's going to be a lot of stuff in there, isn't there? But I'm almost done, so I'm excited to be close to the end. Also started reading Prince Caspian, because that's the book we're on now for book club. I'm also just starting Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo.
I've heard good things about that one.
Yes, I've read the first one already, but Netflix is dropping their show.
That's what it is. I knew I'd heard it.
So I want to reread it before I watch the show. And maybe get in and read the second and third book. But for sure I want to read the first book again. Mm-hmm. Which, cool fact about that one, that was a grad school book that we read for the YA section.
Nice.
And we had a Zoom call with Leigh Bardugo.
Oh.
As part of our curriculum. So that was cool.
So you've met the author, kind of.
Kind of. In a...
Virtually.
Yes. Many, many moons ago. Before she had... I don't even know if the third book in that series was out yet when we met with her. But she was really cool. Very insightful. So I'm excited to read more of her stuff. And honestly, the only reason I haven't read more of her stuff sooner is because I went into a severe reading drought after grad school. Mm-hmm. And I'm still working on my kitchen book, which is A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab. Mm-hmm. So those are my books right now that I'm reading. Do you want me to go into what I'm watching, or do you want to talk about what you're reading first?
You can keep going.
Okay.
I feel like your watching list might be shorter than mine. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Well, so Hope, your wife, and I have been watching the Harry Potter movies.
Right.
We watched the second one, so we've watched 2 of them. So far, so good. It's interesting to see how different they are from the books, but also I get very confused on what thing happens in what book.
Oh, do they like mix that up with what happens in movies and books?
No.
But you know what? There's a lot of them. It's just hard
for me to keep track in my brain.
That's fair. There's a lot of them.
Because the first 4 books are all, like, mysteries, like a whodunit kind of mystery, sort of. And the last 3 are more of a, like, epic fantasy type of arc, which I don't get to take total credit for that. I saw a TikTok that said that, and I was like, oh, yeah.
That's true, though.
I would credit the TikToker, but I don't think that it was her original thought either. I think that a lot of people have thought that.
I'm sure you're right.
So I've been watching those. I also started rewatching HunterxHunter on Netflix.
Very good choice.
Yeah.
My favorite anime.
Yeah. I forgot how quickly that first season moves because the later seasons, like, they take a long time to get through anything. But the first season, they're, like, moving. They're booking it. But that's been fun to revisit. So, and I'm also watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I know you're also watching. So, caught up on that. I think there's just 1 episode left.
I'd heard that, yeah.
So, and then what I'm watching / playing, I feel bad because I never get to comment on what I'm playing because I'm never playing any video games. But I am currently watching a Let's Play on YouTube.
Of what?
Do you want to guess? You're not going to guess.
Who is it? Game Grumps?
No.
Markiplier?
Although I do love Game Grumps and I do love Markiplier. And I do watch them, but I don't
Gameplays?
No. I do watch him too, but wow. I'm just revealing that I watch a lot of gamers. I do not watch PewDiePie. He doesn't do a lot of gaming
not anymore. Yeah. Who is it?
It's BuzzFeed Multiplier.
Okay, I have no idea.
But it's Kelsey and Peacha K. And she is doing the 100 Baby Challenge in Sims 4. Which is so dumb.
So she's trying to have 100 babies in Sims?
Yeah, she's on, so
wow.
I'm almost done. I think I only have like a handful of episodes left. She's had 90 babies.
Wow.
There's like a whole bunch of rules.
How many partners?
Oh, you're only allowed to, okay.
Just the one?
No.
That'd be crazy.
You're not allowed to repeat any partners.
Oh, interesting.
And
that probably makes it even more challenging.
Yeah. So she's on her 3rd matriarch. So you start with a matriarch, and then you have as many babies as you can within her life cycle, and then you like the youngest, the last female that matriarch has becomes the next matriarch.
Okay.
And then you do it again, and then until you get to 100 babies. So she's going to do it in 3 matriarchs. But
wow.
I know, it's such a dumb...
That's big family.
It is. But they're not all in... Because they age out. Because you're only allowed to have, like, 7 members in a household. So...
They move out and start their own. Family reunions must be a pain.
But you don't keep track of... Well, at least as far as I know, she doesn't keep track of the ones after they move out.
Yeah.
She'll invite them over for, like, parties and things, but...
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a weird thing to watch.
Very
Sims.
weird.
I've never played Sims. Ever.
No, I've only ever watched it. Played. I've never played it myself.
Yeah. I didn't even have friends that played it. Like, I have friends now that have played it.
Didn't we watch our cousin play it?
Did we?
Yeah.
I think if we watched her play it... That makes it sound like we only have one cousin. We only had one cousin that lived in town with us.
Yeah.
Not with us in the same town.
I remember watching her play it.
She might have. I'm pretty sure that if I would have started watching her play it as a young person, I probably went, wow, this is boring.
Yeah.
And like went and did something else.
Yeah.
But now as an adult, I'm like, man, I wish I had Sims 4 so I could play this game and create fun characters. I kind of want to do a 100 baby challenge, even though I think it's kind of a time suck.
Yeah.
That I do not need in my life.
Yeah.
But
I'll talk about time sucks when we get to what I've been doing lately.
Yes. So, anyway, that's what I've been watching.
Cool.
Yeah. What about you? What have you got going on over there?
Well, for what I've been reading, it's just been The Gentleman Bastards, just the lies of Locke Lamora. I have not... I mean, I've been reading other books too, but nothing that has been like a fantasy fiction, so I'm not going to include those in the list, but...
Yeah, right. You're reading some nonfiction.
Yeah.
Which so am I. I also did not include my nonfiction.
Yeah. Good for you.
Well, no, I just no. I just meant like this podcast.
Yeah.
We don't talk.
We're not highlighting that.
Yeah. Most of the time, it might come up occasionally.
But. Yeah, occasionally. Yeah, those other books don't really fit in with the theme here. So, but yeah, Lies of Locke Lamora, which I'm excited to talk about, and then for what I'm playing, I've made a lot of progress in Ghost of Tsushima.
Nice.
I'm still on Act 2 of 3, but I've made progress, and I'm re-falling in love with that game because it's very like running through feudal Japan is very calming, just like flowers and I
just remembered something.
Very beautiful scenery. What?
You mentioned feudal Japan.
Yeah?
And it reminded me of some things that I had watched. But you finish what you're talking about, and then we'll come back to it.
Ghost of Tsushima, and I've also been playing Mario Kart with some friends recently.
Cool.
A couple of friends from California.
Not me.
Huh?
It's not me, because I'm real bad at Mario Kart.
That's true. So this is a fun story. I'm so glad you mentioned this, because this is one of my favorite Mario Kart stories ever. Everyone buckle in.
Have you have you told the California friends this story?
No.
Oh, gosh.
They're not listening to this, though. I don't think I've mentioned that we do this podcast with them. But I'm definitely going to tell them the story next time I play with them.
Yes.
So, we were playing Mario Kart with our cousin Mark.
Mm-hmm. And his wife.
Yeah, Caitlin was there.
So, Caitlin's actually our cousin. And her husband.
Her husband, Mark. So, we were playing Double Dash on the GameCube, which is a fun game. Very fun. Mm-hmm. Some people, I think that's her favorite Mario Kart, but I think that's just the one she grew up with. So that might be biased. But anyway, we're playing Double Dash, and Anna's atrocious. Like, really bad.
To be fair, I don't know if I'd ever played Mario Kart. Maybe one time before then.
Yeah.
And you guys had all played many times.
Like, I'd played it on the Wii, and so... And now we have it on the Switch. So yeah, I'm familiar with it. Mark, of course, is familiar with it. Hope and Kaylin. You're the only one that wasn't familiar with it, and you were trash.
Yeah.
Which was so amusing, because there was one race in particular where Mark tried to have pity on you.
Yeah, it was really sweet.
And he hit the brakes before he crossed the finish line, so that you could cross the finish line and not get last place.
He probably had to sit there for like a good couple minutes.
I don't know about minutes.
I was like a lap.
It was at least 20 or 30 seconds that he was sitting at the finish line waiting for you.
It felt like minutes.
Yeah, in Mario Kart time, it was like half an hour. But so he's just sitting there waiting for you to cross the finish line ahead of him.
Which was so sweet. And I was like, oh, are you waiting for me? That's so sweet. Aww.
And then Anna rear ends him and pushes him over the finish line first.
And I still got last place.
And got last place. That was the most incredible moment I've ever had in Mario Kart.
And I think we all laughed till we cried.
I was on the floor laughing because it was just like, oh, you're waiting for me, thanks. Thunk, and then finish. And
I don't even think I hit him hard. Like, it was like...
No, it was like a gentle push across. Yeah. Like... You just gently shoved him across the finish line in front of you.
That's how bad I am.
Just totally defeated the purpose of what he was trying to do, and I was on the floor, laughing and crying. It was amazing. So that's my favorite Mario Kart story. That was a tangent, but I don't care. So yeah, I've been playing Mario Kart with some friends online lately. As far as what I've been watching, I'm still dead set on trying to catch up to Critical Role before this campaign ends, which they're on like episode 133, and I'm on episode 72.
Oh, you're making good time though.
I am making good time because they've been doing this show since, I don't remember when they first started. I think the ones that they're doing now is like 2019, the ones that I'm listening to right now. Because they do them weekly.
Oh.
So I've got to crank out like several 4-hour-long pieces of content a week.
It's a lot.
It's so much. But luckily, with Critical Role, it's something you can kind of have on in the background while you do other things. Like, I obviously can't, like, read.
Right.
But I can, like, be scrolling on my phone or, like, other... There are some moments where it's pretty low-key, you know, so...
Sure.
So, yeah, still trying to catch up on that. And I've been watching, like you said, Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'm up to date on that as well. And... it's getting better. It's not hooking me in like WandaVision did, but I'm getting more okay with like the direction they're taking it. I won't spoil anything, but there are some moments that I think are really cool that have happened in the recent episodes. The first couple were like, yeah, I don't know, but
yeah, because we were watching them together.
Yeah.
I think after the second one, we were like, let's just continue this on our own time and not waste our Friday night.
Let's just keep watching My Hero Academia.
Yes.
Which we are now on part 2 of season 3.
So good.
We finally got to a point where I wanted to get to with the series.
It's so emotional.
Yes, that part of the series is one of the most emotional for me.
Yeah.
And I was definitely pretty misty-eyed during that particular moment. And I have no shame in admitting this.
No, I don't think you should have any shame.
Like, even just thinking about it, I'll sometimes just pull the scene up and watch it when I feel like I need to feel something. I don't know. That makes it sound so bad.
Again, see our episode on escapism.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like looking up... It's like... I need to cry. I'm gonna look up Sam's speech from the Two Towers, or like I need this or that. It's like I'm gonna look up an anime superhero fighting a villain,
Super villain.
Yeah, but no, it was very cool. So yeah, we are on season 3, part 2 of that, and so here's the time suck. I finally caved and got a TikTok. So, yeah.
So those of you that are listening that have a TikTok, you know exactly what he's going through. Those of you that have not caved, it is so easy to just scroll and then like suddenly it's been an hour.
Yeah. And I'll get the pop-up videos of the people that are like, "Hey, I get it. You know,
you've been watching for way too long.
It's really fun to scroll through and watch these videos, but maybe it's time to take a break, go outside, blah, blah, blah." And as soon as his face pops up, I just scroll right past. I just don't even care anymore.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, sometimes those pop up on my first swipe, and I'm like, I just got here.
Oh, yeah.
I've only been here for one 30-second video.
Yeah, that hasn't happened to me yet. It's always been like 20 minutes in to a binge.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that has consumed a lot of free time also, because it's just really easy to fall into holes on TikTok, and you'll find a creator you really like, and then you go to their page and watch like 20 of their TikToks, which are a minute each, and so that's 20 minutes of your life, plus not even including the time it takes to like click around and like find the one you want. Yeah, it is a time trap, and yeah, so that's been an adventure. But whatever.
Welcome to the club, though.
Yeah, I suppose.
There have been many times where I've thought about deleting it just because it is such a time suck.
Yeah.
But then your wife sends me really funny videos.
There are some that are so funny.
And those are the ones that keep me.
Yeah.
Or some very profound videos.
That's true too. There's some like really good like self-realization things. And it's just a fun way to communicate and for other people to tell their story.
Yeah.
So.
For sure.
Yeah. Speaking of stories.
Well, hold on.
What?
The thing I forgot.
Oh yeah. For what you're watching.
So I mentioned in the last podcast I've been trying to watch some Studio Ghibli movies. Ghibli, whatever.
Ghibli, whichever.
And I mentioned that I had but had not watched yet The Wind Rises.
I haven't seen that one either.
Which I have watched it now. Mm-hmm. And it is very different from all of the other Studio Ghibli movies I've ever watched.
In a good
Not that
way.
I've read or watched a lot of them, but it's just different.
Okay.
It is a little more historical. It's set during World War II in Japan and the development of airplanes.
Oh.
World War II? Yeah.
Well, airplanes were developed in World War One. Were they biplanes?
It's Japan, though, so I'm thinking, because they talk about Pearl Harbor briefly.
Then it's 2.
It's not biplanes.
Okay.
I don't know.
I have no idea about airplane development in Japan during the 40s. So.
Yeah, me either. I didn't either. You should watch it. I think you would find it more interesting than I did. But it is, like, weirdly emotional.
Okay.
Because it's, like, Japan during... I'm embarrassed that I can't definitively tell you which one. My gut impulse is that it's World War II. I'm
sure it is. Were they... Like, did they go into, like, the atomic bombings? Or?
Yes, it has to be World War II because there's a... Not to spoil anything, for those of you that don't know how World War II ended. But there is a reference to an atomic bomb.
Then it was 2.
So it was 2. Thank you. Thank you for helping me feel confident in my original assumption.
You're welcome. Anytime.
I do know things about history. It's just once I start to question.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, wait, was it? Definitely World War II. But it's emotional.
Yeah.
It'll make you cry.
I'm sure it would.
But it's interesting because it's a part of history told from a perspective that I had not only never heard, but hadn't ever thought of.
Yeah.
So, The Wind Rises. It's good.
I'll have to look into it. I know there's another one that's kind of in the same vein. I don't think it's Studio Ghibli, but it's called The Grave of the Dragonflies, I think, is what it's called. Or The Fireflies. I'm going to look it up just to make sure that I plug the right name really quick. Okay, it is Grave of the Fireflies from 1988.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that one also... It has an 8.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Yeah, and it's... I know it's about the... I think it goes into the nuclear bombings in Japan at the end of World War II. And firebombing and all that. It's... Yeah. So that'll probably be really emotional as well. But I feel like that would be something that is worth watching just because that's history, like you said, from a perspective that we're not familiar with. Growing up in America, we are taught things from a certain perspective, so.
Yes. And I also watched... Oh my gosh. I also watched Castle in the Sky.
Oh, yeah. I have seen that one. I want to rewatch it, though.
It's good. I don't like it as well as My Neighbor Totoro. It's
Fair.
not as cute.
I would probably agree.
But it is interesting.
Yeah.
It is more fantastical than The Wind Rises. And I also watched a movie by the same director, but it's Studio Panak.
Okay.
And it's called Mary and the Witch's Flower.
Okay. I haven't heard of that one.
It was very fantastical and had some scarier elements in it.
Okay, I'm here for it.
But was really fun.
Cool.
So, would recommend.
I'd be interested to see some scarier elements with that kind of animation style. That'd be interesting.
Not like
horror.
Scary, but
spooky.
Yeah, because there's some. It's kind of like Harry Potter because she ends up at this like school for witches, kind of on accident, entirely on accident, and once she's there, some of the professors are up to nefarious things.
Ew. Oh, this reminds me of something that I watched.
We're never going to get to the actual content.
We started... Hope and I started watching an anime called Jujutsu Kaisen, which is a new one.
Okay.
I think there's only one season on Crunchyroll right now.
Okay.
But I watched an episode, and I'm super into it. It's like a guy who goes... It's a shonen anime, so it's for young... it's young male audience is their target audience. But It's about this high school student who eats this cursed object and like embodies the curse sometimes, and they're like hunting for the rest of the cursed objects because he's like a vessel for it now, and they're like, if you consume all of the cursed objects and we execute you, then it'll just end all these curses.
Oh gosh.
But now he's like going to this high school for people that are like, they're not like demon hunters, they're curse hunters or something.
Yeah.
So it's like this weird
conflict of interest,
supernatural, like, but it is set in modern day. One of them makes a modern reference that was really bizarre. He like talks about how his type of women is Jennifer Lawrence in the anime.
Weird.
And I was like, oh, that's weird. You made a modern. That's how I know I'm watching an anime that is modern. Super weird. But no, yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Okay.
It's been good so far. I'm into it.
Okay, cool.
I've only watched 1 or 2 episodes, but yeah.
Jujutsu, like Brazilian Jujutsu?
Jujutsu, like J-U-T... J-U-J-U-T-S-U, Jujutsu.
Oh, so not like Brazilian.
Not Jujitsu.
Okay. It literally sounds like you're saying the same words.
Jujutsu, yeah. I think that's right.
This is what happens when Americans try to say Japanese words.
Yeah, I'm normally better, but...
Well, you're better than I am. Okay, so let's talk about the lives of Locke Lamora. I'm going to start a 10-minute timer for us so that we stay on track. Should have done that earlier for each of us.
Yep. Sorry, guys.
Okay, so what chapters did we read this week?
That's a darn good question. 7 and 8?
This week we read 8 and 9.
Oh, okay. I knew 8 was in there.
So you had actually already read chapter 8 last week.
Yes.
When we talked about 6 and 7. And then I read chapter 8 and was like, holy smokes, how did you keep it together for our discussion last week?
It's hard. It was a hard one.
Because chapter 8 is intense.
Yeah.
It's like nonstop action.
Yep, which is why I had to read it, because I wanted to read it, and I did.
Yeah. So chapter 8 is all about the encounter between Locke, posing as the Great King. As the Great Grey King.
Yep.
And Kappa Barsavi.
Mm-hmm.
And it does not go well.
No. They're just kind of assuming that the Bonds Mage is going to protect him the whole time.
Which he said he would.
And then did not.
Definitely did not.
At all. And they just pretty much nabbed Locke like it was nothing. Mm-hmm. And took him back and beat him up a little bit.
Which I think that was kind of derived out of a misunderstanding of how the magic works.
Yeah, they thought that the spells of the Bonds Mage were super specific, and that if he couldn't be cut or pierced, then they could run up and grab him, like that would be okay.
Which turns out was true.
Yes, because they did shoot a bunch of crossbow bolts at him, and they were harmlessly deflected by an invisible force. But they just ran up and grabbed him and started punching him, and bruised him up real good. And then, would you like to say what they did to our poor boy, Locke?
Well, they put him in a barrel of pee.
Yep.
Not a barrel, actually.
A cask.
A casket.
No, a cask.
No.
Was it a casket?
I think it was
a cask.
I thought it
was...
Like
something for wine, because I thought that's how they found...
Right, but... So this all happened for what was supposed to be Nazca's funeral, but Nazca wasn't actually there. She was still in one of the temples, and so they had this casket. And I have read it more recently than you, but I'm pretty sure it's a casket. And
you're right. You did read that chapter more recently.
Let me. I'm not gonna be shown up again.
If you are.
Well, the funeral cask. So I think we're maybe mincing words.
Oh, that could be.
I think we're talking about the same thing, just a different word for...
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the funeral cask, which we would call a casket.
I see. So, they threw Locke into a casket full of horse pee, because that's how they found... Nazca. Barsavi's daughter. And that was horrifying and gross to read.
And that's pretty much how the chapter ends. With Locke
drowning in horse urine and thrown into the ocean.
And he's real beat up.
Yeah, so he's not in a good way.
So you would think, starting the next chapter, that it would reveal how they get him out of it.
But no.
No.
Which was frustrating.
Yes.
Delayed gratification.
Mm-hmm.
But first, real quick, the interlude between... what was the interlude between? Oh, when they had that, like, alley... The brawl with the other gang boys, and it was basically just highlighting how John has become a competent fighter.
Yes.
And can pretty much mop the floor with anyone now.
Yes.
At least anyone his age.
And Locke is not a good fighter.
No, he loses every single time.
But he's smart. Most of the time. And then the next chapter, we get to see the Donna Salvara again. Mm-hmm. Sophia Salvara, which we have not seen in a while. Those of you that don't remember, she's the wife of the Don that the bastards are...
Swindling.
Which
we haven't heard from them in a while, so I was wondering when we would hear about that whole plot again, because we haven't heard anything about their con job, because it's all been about the Grey King stuff.
Right. So she visits an older Donna, who is like wise and is rumored to be able to take care of things.
Yeah.
Which she does.
And it turns out that she is the leader of the actual secret police in Camor.
Yes.
She is the spider.
Yes. And she's pretty much got this whole thing pegged.
Yeah. She's like, we finally have
the Thorn
of Camor. Mm-hmm. We finally have him where we want him. We're going to have this party. He's going to be invited as Lucas Furwit. And we're going to finally nab him. I want everyone that interacts with him to be one of our people. I want the shoe shiner to be one of our people. I want the person serving him food to be one of our people. And she just like went on this this funny little tirade about how
she was gonna get him.
Excited she was about finally getting him. Which I knew we were gonna see the real secret police pop up eventually, because I was like, man, I don't think you can get away with posing as a member of the secret police.
No doubt.
And get away with it. That is just the audacity. They're not going to let you do that without some kind of response. Yeah. So
But the beauty of Scott Lynch's writing is that this whole time you're reading this chapter and you're like, why am I reading this? Like when the two Donnas are talking, it's like, why are we here? I just want to know what happens to Locke.
Why are we hearing these two women gossip? Like,
and you really don't find out until like the very end of the last sentence of the chapter that she is actually the spider, because she reads like an informant, but it's not until she like uses her insignet ring and sends a letter off to the Duke that you're like, oh wait, no, she is the spider, and that's cool. It's cool that an old lady has got so much power.
I picture her as the Martell lady from Game of Thrones. The old...
Oh.
What's her name? Marjorie's grandma.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Orlena? Martell?
Yes.
Something like
that.
The old one that like organized Joffrey's assassination.
That's I was picturing?
That's the actress I'm picturing for this role.
That's so much better than what I was picturing.
Who are you picturing?
I was picturing the Madame from the Aristocats.
A cat.
No, not the cat.
Oh no, the lady.
The lady.
Okay, that's better. I thought you were picturing one of the cats.
No. The owner, the old lady.
Okay. It was weird. I had this like shift in my brain halfway through though, where at first I was picturing... This happens sometimes when I'm reading, where like I will picture them as a certain person, and then they'll do something, and my perception of them totally alters, and they become a totally different person in my head.
Yeah.
Of appearance. So she started off as, I don't even know the name of the actress, but you know in Pride and Prejudice when it's like the old lady in Pride and Prejudice that like rolls in, and she's like all she's all like snooty and
played by Dame Judi Dench.
That's who I pictured.
Yes.
As the older Donya in this. And then...
Is that how you're supposed to say that?
In the audiobook, that's for the female...
Are you listening to the audiobook now?
Sometimes when I'm... What?
You cheater.
Why is that cheating?
It's not actually cheating.
Okay.
I just didn't know you did audiobooks at all. So I'm like a little flabbergasted.
I got it as my first free book on Audible.
Nice.
Because then if I'm just chilling in bed and, Hope's asleep, I can just plug in earphones and listen to that. Or like in the car. I don't know. It's convenient sometimes.
Yeah. So
but
they say
it's faster. It's faster if I just read it.
Yeah.
With my eyeballs. But yes, the way the guy pronounces it for the female is like Doña Salvada or
okay.
Yeah.
I'm putting a lot of Midwest Donna in there.
Donna
Salvara. Donna Salvara.
Cap Bar Savi.
Yeah. That's some
coming in to bushwhack the Grey King. It just turns into a Western.
Oh my gosh. Okay, speaking of, I need to defend myself a little bit because last week it was revealed that I am setting blind.
Yeah.
Which I'm not denying that I do have an issue with that.
Occasionally.
However, I figured out what happened.
Okay.
So, after we ended recording last week, you opened up the book to the first, chapter.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly where.
Timer. Hold on, timer.
We'll wrap it up soon.
And revealed that they used the word alien to describe some of the structures.
Uh-huh.
In my defense, I went into the story with very little background knowledge. And my assumption was that this is set in our world. But a historical fantasy version of our world. So there was no magic or anything in that first part of the book. It wasn't until recently that it was revealed that there were bonds mages and there was magic and things.
Yes, which made me so excited.
Yes. But, so my point is that I think that in my initial read-through, when I hit the word alien, my brain translated it to foreign. Because also I'm reading the Chronicles of Narnia and there's a lot of words that Lewis uses that are not American.
That's fair.
So I think my brain was automatically translating things that are not common words for us now into other things that are common. So I was like, oh, it's just a foreign structure. Okay. But as we've gone on, it's clear that there's something else going on here.
It's an ancient civilization that had knowledge of architecture and magic that is long lost.
Yes.
And it's super cool and weird.
Yes, which is very clear now. The last chapter, there was a lot of description of elder glass and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw it out there, give myself a little grace, and say that I was reading from a position that was inaccurate.
There you go.
I have adjusted. I have a better understanding of the setting now. Thank you.
There you go. All right.
I am a good reader.
I know you are.
I was doubting it last week.
Anna had some severe imposter syndrome
after
that podcast episode.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, I can't even read. I want to write a book. I'm an idiot.
That is kind of how I left it. But, okay.
No.
So, speaking of writing and reading,
let's
talk about some fantasy tropes that we don't like.
Fantasy tropes that are
just
why?
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how long your list is. Mine is okay.
I have 6.
I have more, so I will start.
Okay.
My first one is that I don't love the damsel in distress. Now, I will say that there is a time and a place. That time and place is not in any modern fantasy.
Yeah.
If I'm reading an old book and it happens, I can forgive that. They're a product of their generation.
Or if it's obviously making fun of the trope.
Sure.
I can get down with that too.
Yes. But if it's a sincere YA or fantasy with a damsel in distress, I'm out.
Yeah, that's a disconnect.
Yeah. Not cool with it. That's why I write strong female characters.
Mm-hmm. That don't need to be the damsel. You like the femme fatale.
Yes.
Because that's the inverse.
It's okay. I should say, if a character is in a bind and needs some help and happens to be female.
That's different.
That's fine. It's if she's locked in a tower or some equivalent and can't do anything to help herself. No.
Helpless female
Who's perfectly healthy.
That needs Prince Charming to come save her.
No.
Is outdated.
Yes.
And like you said, it's not like, because characters will always have obstacles to overcome, otherwise it's not a good story. Mm-hmm. But the character overcomes the obstacle. Someone else doesn't have to come and overcome the obstacle for them because they're perceived as weak, which is what the damsel in distress is.
Right. Which that kind of also plays into the Deus Ex Machina.
Deus Ex Machina.
Thank you. I can never say that because I get the X's and the sounds confused.
Which that one's not on my list, but it should be, the Deus Ex Machina.
Agreed. It wasn't on mine either, and now that I'm talking about the damsel in distress, I'm like, no, that one needs to go too. Don't love that. And you know what? It happens. It happens in some of our favorite books, Joseph. It happens in The Lord of the Rings.
Several times.
When the eagles come.
Well, straight up with Gollum falling into the lava. That was in the books. It's like literally.
Yes.
Like, I'm pretty sure it says Eru just kind of like, boop. Like,
I don't know about that. I haven't read it in a while.
I think I read that somewhere that he kind of.
It's like, we're done with this.
It's kind of implied that a little nudge happened and that ended it.
Yes.
So.
Which, all that to say, that it happens sometimes in our favorite things, but in general, the trope is not a favorite.
But look at when Lord of the Rings was written.
Yeah.
So it's more forgivable. But you also have characters that are really strong female characters, like Éowyn.
Yes.
And in like Silmarillion, there's a bunch too.
Galadriel gets counted in the Lord of the Rings too.
She's cooler in Silmarillion.
I know, but even in the Lord of the Rings, when you're reading The Return of the King, and they're talking about what was happening while all of our main characters were dealing with the front lines and what Galadriel was dealing with in Lothlorien and how epic it was. She is a strong female character.
She is. No, she totally is.
And that is a hill that I am willing to die on.
I agree. I would die with you on the hill.
Thank you.
And there's a character called Haleth, who's a human, who's very cool too.
Yes.
So he kind of like offsets some kind of outdated tropey things with some cool, for his time, really progressive things that you wouldn't have expected. But anyway.
Like anti-industrialization.
That's one that I like and would have put in my like list had I have thought of it.
Ditto.
Thanks for that. So yeah, add that one to the list of tropes we like: anti-industrialism and anti-mechanization of warfare.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Take us back to swords and longbows. I also had damsel in distress on my list, so I'm not going to talk about that because we're both kind of talking about it. But
I figured we'd have some of that.
For mine, then I will move up on my list. The Chosen One.
That's next on my list.
There we go. The Chosen One, I understand why it exists, because it's like, it's easy to just, if you're trying to come up with a reason why your main character is special, like, you make them the Chosen One, or you make them the secret heir to a kingdom, which is the next one down, which they kind of go hand in hand, I feel like.
Yeah.
This is one of the things from the Hobbit movies that I actually liked. It's a quote from Gandalf.
Okay.
When he says that Saruman thinks that great deeds of like strength and power is what will keep evil at bay, but that's not what I found. It's these small deeds of everyday folk, acts of kindness and love that keeps the darkness at bay.
That's a Hobbit line?
Yeah, that's Gandalf is talking to Galadriel in Rivendell.
Oh. I feel like there's a version of that in The Lord of the Rings too.
Probably. But I like that. I like focusing more on the valiant deeds of everyday people.
Yes.
And they don't have to be a chosen one or secretly the prince of or princess of the kingdom to be special or to have weight in the story, you know? Which there's a lot of things. Like with, you go back to the Star Wars thing with Rey and her parentage. There were some people that really liked the idea of her being a nobody. There were some people that hated that because Star Wars has always been about like lineages and legacy, like the Skywalker legacy. And so people really wanted her to have a cool lineage, which kind of happened. But so it's just like two sides of the coin. I can see why people fall on either side. Personally, I find stories more compelling if it's more like your everyday average Joe eventually becomes the hero person, with the training and the people to support them, and anyway.
Because I was thinking about how, just based on what you just said, how there's kind of a juxtaposition and some dissonance in the Lord of the Rings when you consider that line, which I think is true and truly at the heart of what Tolkien was doing, because the hobbits are just ordinary, everyday folk.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also, like, Gandalf spends a lot of time talking to Frodo about how, like, you were meant to have the ring, and this was meant to be your journey, and so I think that's interesting how you can, but I think those two things can exist at the same time. I think you can be an ordinary person who is not like some, secret heir, which that was also on my list, and still like be important. And yet such is oft the courage of deeds that move the wheels of the world, the small hands do them because they must, while eyes of the great are elsewhere. That's a Tolkien quote from The Lord of the Rings.
That's on his wall. Yep, it's on the wall.
Yeah, it's an important quote for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, same. So I had the chosen one too. And then I had a qualification that it's fine if there is a chosen one. I just don't want him or her to say, I am the chosen one.
Yeah.
Or like, don't put those words on it. Like, just let them be important because they're the main character without like saying, chosen one. There's a prophecy, self-fulfilling prophecy.
And there's a way
Rex.
And there's a way you can like subvert it if you want to get funky with it. You could say there's a chosen one prophecy, and then it turns out the prophecy's bogus. It
doesn't happen very often in fantasy.
I'd be down to read a story like that though, because that's kind of a fresh take on it. And then you've got the character dealing with the self-realization that they are a nobody, and then they have to like come to terms with it. And that's an interesting take. So there's like ways that even if you don't like these tropes, there's ways to incorporate them and that are fresh. You have to kind of dissect it and subvert it in a way that makes it interesting. But anyway, your turn. Yeah. What's your next one?
Well, so I didn't have the self-fulfilling prophecy on my list, but I think it should be. Because so I was talking to the middle schoolers couple last week about self-fulfilling prophecies, because there's an element of that in The Horse and His Boy. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to explain it to them, and then like mid-explanation was like, maybe this is a little
too much
upper level. Because the only example that I like had a really like clear explanation of was Oedipus.
Ooh, Rex. Yeah, don't go into
exactly.
Oedipus,
and I was like, I can't talk about Oedipus Rex with these kids, but that is like the quintessential. There's a prophecy. We have to avoid the prophecy, and we make this awful, awful prophecy.
Yeah, you try to change fate, and then it goes off the rails.
Right.
And it happens anyway, but now your life is also miserable.
Yes.
And you did some awful things.
Yeah. So I think that when I was talking to middle schoolers, I ended it with, well, just keep an eye out for any time they bring up a prophecy, if like the things they try to do to either make it happen or not happen will be the things that will in fact make it happen. Just look for that.
Yeah. Fair.
And they were like, okay.
Trust me, it'll come up later. You'll have to read this book in high school, unless it's on the banned book list.
Even if it's on the banned book list.
That's true.
It's a classic. Can I have another one since my list is longer?
That's good.
Zombies.
I
hate zombies.
I guess that can be a fantasy trope.
I hate surprise zombies. I hate when you're reading a book.
This is mostly aimed at George R.R. Martin.
Yes. Because I have known for a long time that I don't care for zombie flicks. I don't really like zombie movies. I don't really like zombie games. It's just not my thing. And I read A Game of Thrones. And that you get through the whole entire book, and it's like in the last chapter or something, and it becomes very clear that there are freaking zombies.
Bummer.
And I was so annoyed because I was so invested. Also, he killed my favorite character. And then he dropped zombies on me. Are we surprised that I've only read the first 2 books? Not really.
That's a valid critique. But
I own the next 3? Yes.
You own them all the way through Dance with Dragons.
I do.
Or Dance with whatever it is.
A Dance with Dragons, I think.
Is he ever going to finish that last book?
I have no idea. Is it even the last book? I don't know. I have no idea.
Anyway, I hear what you're saying. I
almost don't care.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I'm with you. I hear what you're saying.
Not that I want to have Martin on my bad side. I don't. I just am frustrated.
The show low-key ruined it for me.
I know. I kind of feel bad for him. For Martin.
Anyway. Yeah. I hope he can do it justice. And now he knows what not to do.
Exactly. I feel like maybe he was just testing out potential endings and was like, you guys pick one. And now he's like, nope.
Now I know I'm not going to do that. You could argue there's zombies in Lord of the Rings, though. The dead men of Dun Harrow.
They're ghosts.
They're undead.
They're ghosts.
Are they, though?
Yes.
There's also the Barrow-wights.
Hate those.
They're pretty zombie-like.
They're also kind of ghosts, though.
Dead marshes?
It's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah, so
when I'm talking about like a zombie,
a specific type of zombie, like the Walking Dead zombies, the shambling.
Yeah, I don't like those. I don't like the ones where, because none of those were like bitten and given a disease and turned into zombies.
They weren't in Game of Thrones either.
Well, that's unclear. Like when you get to the end of, that's not revealed yet. When you get to the end of a Game of Thrones, the first book. They're just like undead
that's fair.
Things.
But we know now, it's kind of like necromancy stuff.
Yes. But I finished that book before I watched season 1.
That's true.
So many moons have passed.
Yeah.
Since
that's fair.
I finished that book. I've learned a lot since then.
Mm-hmm.
The zombies are more tolerable in that now. That I know that it's more necromancy. But my point is, surprise zombies. Not a fan.
Fair.
Really regular zombies, not a fan of either. Okay, so you can go on with your next one.
Okay, my next one is, this is just the way that it was referred to on the list that I had found online.
Okay.
You could refer to it in another way. They called it the Lucky Novice.
Mm-hmm.
This is a character that is way too good at what they do. They're usually the chosen one, but they're like way too good at what they do for what their skill level or skill set should be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like Anakin Skywalker being super good at piloting as a 9-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And like out piloting.
But that's the Force.
I know, it's the Force. but that's what I mean though. Like the characters that are like way too good. Mm-hmm. Like if they put in the work and like became that good, then it's more impressive to me, and then it's a good payoff. Mm-hmm. But if they just come in there just this total noob and they just wreck this powerful person just because they can.
So it's like Harry Potter showing up and being a good, strong Quidditch player when he's never even heard of it before.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about Rey.
No, because that's not fair.
I know a lot of people say that about Rey in The Force Awakens because she beats Kylo Ren in the end, but he took a bowcaster bolt to the side. No, I'm not talking about that. Also, she did not look like she really knew that much of what she was doing with the lightsaber anyway, and but she did have a lot of fighting experience on Jakku.
I was gonna say she's also not a 9-year-old.
Right, she's like over 20, right?
And scrappy.
And had been fighting probably just to keep her little hut and food off of grimy thieving hands her entire life. So no, I don't have a problem with that. Luke is more of an example of this than Rey. Luke Skywalker in like Empire Strikes Back has like
all of it.
A day or two worth of or like he in the first one especially, he's just some
farm kid.
Some farmer, some hick farmer from a dustball planet that is like barking commands from his X-Wing at these other experienced rebel pilots. I'm like, dude, get over yourself.
Yeah.
You are not that good. And then he actually blows up the Death Star and it's like, oh great, now you're going to be full of yourself the rest of this trilogy.
And that is what happened.
Pretty much. And then he gets a couple hours of training with Yoda and thinks he can go toe-to-toe with Darth Vader and loses a hand.
To be clear, none of that bothered me as a kid.
No, you don't notice it as a kid. And I think Empire Strikes Back is great, one of my favorites, and I love the fight scene between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. And it is, you notice when you're rewatching it, that Darth Vader is definitely kind of just toying with him and letting it go as far as it did, just for fun. But yeah, Luke is a better example of a character that is way too good, even though they have like little to no experience in a certain thing. So the Lucky Novice is a trope that I can't get behind. I like those moments of like, I like those super cool moments to be earned.
Yeah.
With like proper build up with like training and preparation, you know, not just like, oh, look at me, I'm a master sword duelist now for no reason. Or I'm a wizard. I can kill Voldemort even. Whatever, you know what I mean. Right. That's mine. So
yeah. No. So I have several items about the hero or main character that that are like things about them that I don't love. So I'll kind of go through some of those quickly, because what you said is totally true.
Yeah.
Like as far for me as well. I don't love it when the main motivation for the main character is revenge. Like, I think it's okay for a side character, but I don't want the main character's like whole purpose to just be revenge.
Interesting.
It can be a component or like something that's developed through the course of the story, but I don't want it like coming right out of the gate. I don't want the hero to just like want to save the world all so that they can like earn the love of somebody else. Like romantic love. Ugh.
Yeah, especially if it's like an unrequited love, and they're like, "Oh, maybe then she'll notice me if I save the planet."
Right.
Ew, gross.
Exactly.
Neckbeard character.
Yes. Awful.
Notice me.
Okay, so you already said like the long lost king, which I think maybe we mentioned that in like some of our favorites. There's a distinction.
Yeah, like you can. Aragorn isn't really a secret heir because he knows he is,
and everybody else does too. Yeah, that knows who he is.
We didn't see like them tell him, "Oh, by the way, you're the king of Gondor."
No,
we didn't get to see that.
He's grown up knowing that.
So he was like the exiled king,
right?
Coming back.
Yes.
If it had been like, oh, turns out Frodo's the king of Gondor.
Yeah, that would have been annoying.
That's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
That kind of happens in The Horse and His Boy, but it's kind of funny because it's like the Prince and the Pauper.
Oh, okay.
And then so it turns out that Shasta is actually Prince Kor, and he was actually born first.
Wow, I forgot about that.
And so he gets to be king, and he's like, I don't really want to be king, but Corin, the kid who's been hanging around like a prince his whole life, is like, this is awesome, I didn't want to be king. Huh. And it turns out that Kor is a better person. Yeah. Than Corin is.
I forgot all about that.
I know. It's been a long time since you read those books.
It's been a long time. I should reread them.
I don't love it when the main character is just bored and wants to go adventuring. Yeah,
there needs to be good motivation for your characters, for sure.
And I don't like it when the hero can outthink the wizard or the hero. Or not the hero, the wizard or the mentor. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's all kind of like main character things that are...
That's fair. So. Yeah, you had a lot more on your list than I did.
Yeah, but those are all kind of related.
Yeah, those are all great things, though. Those are all really good. Let's see. This one is kind of a setting thing. I have a couple that are... I have two more that are both kind of setting items. Okay. One of them... one of them's kind of plotty. But, okay. This is one where you have certain species in your world that are either inherently good or inherently bad. I'm talking like orcs and goblins are inherently bad and hobbits are inherently good. Like, I think it can be important to have, like, of the two, I think having an inherently bad one is more forgivable for me because Here's why. Because then you have... You have...
I just did a weird thing with my eyebrows at him.
Yeah.
For all of you.
And the reason is, then you have bad guys for your heroes to fight that you don't have to feel super guilty about them taken out.
So you want red shirts.
Right. They're bad guy red shirts from Star Trek. They're people like that are unredeemable that you don't have to worry about getting killed by the hero because it's like it's a goblin. They're nasty little like if they could kill and pillage whoever they would. Like you know their motivations. It's a goblin, you know. But I mean there's some interesting things where you can kind of humanize them a little bit and then make it that like they're not as monstrous and then it's like which is kind of cool and I like that. But then also having inherently good species is like it just seems like unlikely. I don't know. Yeah. Like I like things to be a little more gray with like I just don't know if I like entire species being generalized as this is the good guy species or this is the bad guy species because that's kind of like what they do in World of Warcraft, you know, like these are the Alliance people and these are the Horde people and these species belong to the Horde and these species belong to the Alliance and they don't get along and one is good and one is bad.
Can I jump in here?
Yes, go for it.
Because I hear you. I agree with you. I am going to defend my man Tolkien here just a little bit.
Yes.
Because you mentioned the hobbits being all good. The Sackville Bagginses.
Oh yeah, they're garbage.
Are not good. And the elves, like you've read the Silmarillion, so you know even more examples than I do. But there are plenty of elves that are down and dirty and not okay.
Yes, you're right. I was just kind of using those as examples.
No, I know you were, but I just wanted to jump in and be like, because Tolkien gets a lot of hate for being racist. And I'm not ready to like have that full conversation, but he does have more gray areas in his world building than people at first glance notice.
You got to dig for it.
Because even when you're reading The Hobbit and they're dealing with the cave trolls.
Yeah.
Are they cave trolls? They're just trolls. Mountain trolls. Whatever.
They're stone trolls.
Trolls.
Yeah.
They are funny.
Yeah.
Doing their thing, living their life. Yes, they're trying to eat the dwarves, but they're not like... I mean, they're malicious in that they're trying to eat them, but they're like funny and fun to interact with. So, and I would not have said that they were inherently evil, except that they're just like doing what they do. Yeah. So...
But you don't, like, but for, like, orcs or goblins, you don't see any, like, oh, these are the good guy orcs.
Not good guy, but, like, again, I'm going to reference The Hobbit when they're in the Misty Mountains. You see plenty of examples of orcs just doing their thing. Like, they're just vibing. And they happen to, like, discover the dwarves. And they're like, ooh, something to eat.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I get what you're saying. I think that they're mostly considered to be...
No, I know. I just want to say that there's a little bit more ambiguity.
Yeah, sure. I can get behind that.
Then, I mean, I would say that, like, the goblins and orcs are generally considered bad guys. Yeah. But they do have bad. They do have elements of humanity, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Sure. Yeah.
They're not just like...
I think I'm saying I like that where it's, you know, it's not just these are the good and these are the bad species. I don't like entire species being generalized as either good or as either entirely good or entirely bad.
Yeah. Because like the Haradrim give Tolkien kind of a bad rap. But there's that whole bit with Faramir where he's like, these are some people's like sons and fathers. Yeah. Like, they're people too. Mm-hmm. So.
And I think you can also kind of lump this in with, like, species who just have one shtick. Yeah. And that's, like, that species' shtick. Like, oh, the gnomes, they're really good at tinkering, or the dwarves, they're really good at mining.
There are gnomes in our next book that we're reading.
Nice.
I'm so excited.
Or like the elves, oh, they're so mystical and like just like these spiritual beings.
Right.
And the humans are just awful.
Yeah, I mean.
But anyway, yeah, I don't like that. I like more diversity and like.
Yeah.
I don't like just super big generalizations. It just seems lazy to me. But
as a writer, like when I first started writing, that was the easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
But then as I started world building, it was like, well, it's more interesting actually if these characters are being coerced into doing this thing. And actually, they also need to be saved from the big bad.
Yeah.
How do I incorporate that into my story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be, like, Wheel of Time does it with Trollocs, and, like, there's entire races in Wheel of Time that are just, this is the bad guy race, you know? So, like, a lot of really well-known...
Were they created to be bad?
Unclear. I have not gotten that far.
Okay, because I was just going to say, Tolkien also does that, where, like, the big bad, like, creates people to be his minions.
Yeah.
So they're like pawns.
Yeah, it's like these are the grunts that the good guy can kill without the reader having to feel guilty about them dying.
Yeah.
Because they're irredeemably bad.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I'm into that one. So anyway, that's mine. That's one of mine. So you can do another one, then I'll give you my last one, which kind of ties in with the one I just had. But
mine also kind of ties in with what you just said.
Okay.
So I don't like it when evil equals ugly, stupid, and mean.
Yeah.
And good equals beautiful, handsome, wise, and kind.
You can also add fat to the evil.
Yes.
And I'll let you go ahead and go on your rant now about Harry Potter.
Oh, do we want to get into that here? Okay, here we go.
Okay, let's do like a give me your
version.
60-second, your minute of what do you not like about this specifically with Harry Potter?
I thumped my book down. Sorry, audio. Okay. My biggest takeaway from the Harry Potter books is that I am so glad that I did not read these as a young person, because there is so much fat phobia and just straight up bullying in these books that it would have been damaging to me as a young person. As someone who did struggle with like an unhealthy relationship with food and still struggles with that now, and like self-image and self-worth issues, the way that any of the like they're good guy, or they're not like the bad guys, but they're antagonists, like the Dudleys, or the Dursleys, Dudley Dursley, the way he is described is incredibly harmful, and the way that Neville is described is incredibly harmful.
Is one of Draco's lackeys?
Yes, he's fat and dumb and evil, and Neville's like dopey and fat and bleh. It's so irritating every time it comes up, and like even Hagrid said, who's an adult in the series, says nasty things about this prepubescent boy's weight. Like, shut up. You're an adult. Be better. And like the bullying that happens. Like, the main characters, the good guys, say nasty things about other people's weight. I'm like, this is fat phobia at its worst, and it's in a children's book, and it makes me mad. It makes me so mad.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Fat people are worthy of being people, and they are worthy of love, and they don't need your judgy McJudginess all up in their business. Shut up. Okay.
I agree 100%.
Thank you.
I forgot what your actual... What was...
Evil equals ugly, fat, stupid, and mean.
Right, okay.
Wrong.
Yes.
You can have beautiful fat people.
And
smart fat people.
You can have people that are objectively attractive and good looking and charming and very charismatic be the worst people.
Yes.
Hans, Frozen.
Yes. I was thinking...
Except for sideburns. Those are weird.
But Hans is a great example.
Who are you thinking of?
Hitler?
I mean, he's not attractive. That mustache.
No, but he was charismatic.
That's true. He knew how to give a speech, I suppose.
Yes.
Cringe.
But no, you're right. He's not attractive.
No. But I know what you're saying. Yeah. But yeah, like, just because... And someone could have, like, the kindest soul and be, like, objectively unattractive.
Melody from HunterxHunter.
Yeah. Or, like, what's his name from Labyrinth? Hope, my wife. I'm communicating telepathically with you. Is it Hoggle?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
He's like a troll guy, and he's like super nice. Or there's like the big guy, the big furry guy that's like, smell bad. Like, yeah, like these are like monsters, but they're so nice.
Yes. And
they're kind and caring, and it's like, yeah, I agree with you on that one 100%. Just because you're gross doesn't mean you're evil.
Yeah.
And just because someone else's standard has a standard for what gross is doesn't mean it is like the gold standard for what gross is.
Right.
Like with what you're talking about with like overweight people. Like, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I agree with you.
Thank you. That was a rant I wasn't expecting to have today.
It's okay. That's what this podcast is for. So Anna's going to climb down off her soapbox, and I'm going to go to my last one, which ties in with my last one, and that is characters that are completely black and white morally. I like characters that are conflicted about their decisions or their actions or what they need to do. I like if you've got the paragon of light, like just good guy energy through and through. That's kind of a boring character to me because I know exactly what they're gonna do. I know exactly what their decision. Like whenever options are placed before them, I'll always know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
If that is like their thing. If you give me a character that kind of struggles or has like ulterior motives or like, have aspects of their character that kind of like rock the boat a little bit, then you're going to leave me guessing, and I'm going to be hoping that they do one thing, but maybe they do the other thing. And then it's like, oh no, now how are they going to get out of this situation? Like, I think it just makes for more interesting stories. And that's the same when you have a character that is 100% just evil, because then again, I'm always going to know, like, okay, you're just going to do some messed up stuff. Because then you're always going to know what decision they're going to make. They're obviously always going to move against the protagonist, but it's if you add in elements of like add things that make them more interesting for me to read about, But yeah, that's my shtick. Black and white morality, I think, can be boring if it's not done the right way.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Yeah. Agreed. My last one. No happy ending.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I like it to have a happy ending. It can be a struggle to get there.
Yeah.
But I want it to eventually get there.
Mm-hmm.
I want the art that I'm ingesting to have a reflection of what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be like, I don't mean that in like I only want to read Christian fiction at all. Yeah. Please.
Yeah.
I do not mean that at all. I mean that I want there to be hope and something to look forward to. If there's not a happy ending, then it just feels very bleak and sad. And I don't want bleak and sad. I want hope.
Yeah.
So, and I believe in hope.
Yeah, I like my wife too.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. but I believe in being hopeful. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
So, I want that. Because if there's no chance of things turning out right in the end, why am I reading the book?
Yeah, I guess I agree with you to a certain extent. I think for me it kind of depends on what the book is, or story in general. It doesn't have to be a book. What the story is trying to convey. Maybe it has a more melancholy kind of ending.
See, I was going to drag Hunger Games, and you just made a perfectly good example of why it's fine. I don't really hate the ending of Mockingjay. It's frustrating because you want better for them.
But they fall right into the same old traps.
Yes. I totally understand the point that she was making.
Yeah. But I understand why that might not be your favorite type of story. Right. Because you want something that'll be more hopeful. I'm just playing devil's advocate in why an ending might not be like they frolic into the sunset and
they don't have to frolic. I just want them to survive, and I want it to mean something. So, like, even in The Lord of the Rings, Frodo does not return to the Shire whole. He's broken. Right. They've all been changed dramatically. Mm-hmm. And I'm fine with that.
Because they probably all have PTSD.
Oh, 100%. And, like, the book ends with Frodo having to go to the Undying Lands because he's so messed up by the ring. And, like, that's sad, but the work that they did made for a better world for, like, all of Sam's dozen children.
Yeah. The sacrifice is worth it in the end.
Yes. So, yeah. That's what I mean by a happy ending.
I can see why that's the kind of story you'd prefer.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be like Princess Bride where they ride off into the sunset and...
Yeah. And kiss romantically.
Yes, on the horseback.
I'm, of course, talking about Indigo and Physic. No. No.
I was like, you got their names wrong, and then I realized what you said and was like, oh, jeez.
No, I'm not. I kid.
His name is not Indigo, first of all.
What is it?
Inigo.
Inigo?
My name is Inigo Montoya. There's no D.
I like indigo. I like the color. That's just what it always sounded like.
I know, but it's
wrong. My name is Indigo Montoya. Or Indigo Montoya. I don't know. I was just being a goof.
Now you've got me second guessing, and I'm like, where's my copy of The Princess Bride so that I can check?
I'll concede.
It's right
you win.
There.
Inigo. You're right. No D. Inigo. I'm, of course, speaking of Inigo and Fezzik. And that's when I just cut out that whole chunk and no one will ever know that I was wrong. The glories of being the editor.
Oh, that was very funny.
No,
You're leaving in my Mario Kart business.
I'm leaving it in. I have to keep myself humble sometimes.
Well, since I get to be revealed as being settings blind, it's only fair that you accidentally put a D into a person's name where it didn't belong.
To make it a color.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, yeah, that's our tropes that we are very about.
Yeah.
So...
That we hate.
That we despise. They are the bane of our existence. Angst. Yeah. So, that was fun.
Yeah.
I like talking about tropes.
Me too.
And there's, a ton that we probably didn't mention. If we didn't mention them, it's either because we forgot about them, or we are indifferent and don't really care.
Here's my big disclaimer as a writer. I very well may use any and all of these.
Fair. That's fair.
So.
Same. If I ever wrote a book, there would probably be a ton of these.
It just happens.
Yep. There's no original thought anymore. Anyway. This has been fun. Yeah. We'll figure out what we do next time, and then we'll talk at you then. Yeah. But next time, so 10 and 11 for Lies of Locke Lamora, because this was 8 and 9.
We're like way past the halfway point of this.
We're getting there. I'm pretty pumped.
Hope you've been reading along.
Yeah.
Until next time, go read something cool.
Later.
Bye.